Hello, and welcome to episode 2 of the Marshall Sports Show, the show where we simply talk about sports and nothing else. Joining me today, once again, is my brother, Mr. Mans Marshall, also known as Jeffrey Marshall. Jeff, how are you doing this week?
Oh man, I'm doing great, doing great. Oh, it's just
Oh,
it's
yeah.
another Tuesday.
Oh,
It's
yeah. Hey, I was repping H-Town last week, but I wanted to make sure that I got my Ags this week.
oh,
Take 'em,
I'm
baby.
I'm repping
The
the
cheaters,
grace the
the
cheaters,
cheaters, the sign stealers.
the sign stealers. Supposedly that we're using NASA now to
Yeah.
get
Yeah,
our
NASA
signal.
is looking down from space and they're telling us, what Uraldis Chapman is about to throw, even though he's going to throw a fastball and Altuve is going to smack it.
Yes,
So, yeah,
yes. We just don't have good players, but
we don't. Yeah, we can't do anything without
we
cheating.
just
All
can't do
right, all
anything.
right, all right. So let's just jump right into it. Today we're talking college football once again. Why would we not talk college football? We had a wild college football Saturday a couple of days ago, and we also had a Sunday fun day just the other day in the NFL that we will touch on. Just a quick note on the NFL. We were actually filming while our boy Myles Garrett was trying to murder Mason Rudolph. And right when we finished that, I turned on Espen and I saw that Myles Garrett tried to murder Mason Rudolph. So that was pretty bizarre. I don't know what that was about. I mean, whatever. But yeah, so I mean, let's just jump right into it. We had an insane college football Saturday. I got to hand it to you, man. You called it. Minnesota. Minnesota trying to live off that high of the big Penn State victory. They fall to Iowa in Iowa, man. I got to give it to you on that one. I mean,
I tell you, Iowa, they break people's hearts.
yeah,
They just their little Iowa come down there. They're like, no one saw it coming. Everyone's just loving Minnesota.
yeah.
They're like, hey, but I was like, oh, nah,
Now I'm
we're
imagining
not
all the
seeing any of
people,
that.
all the betting newbies who were like jumping on the Minnesota bandwagon. PJ Fleck, oh man, he's the greatest coach in the world. And maybe if they were
Nah,
watching the show, then they would have taken your advice. But I'm pretty sure almost everyone bet on Minnesota that game.
maybe all those little people that just turned 21 so they can go bet. They're hopping on Bovada so they can go put their money
Oh
on
yeah,
Minnesota.
oh yeah, yeah. We will definitely be checking out some game lines here in a little bit. Um, Another crazy game, Oklahoma, the 25-point comeback at Baylor,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely ripped the heart out of every Baylor student, Baylor alum, anyone who was there in Waco that witnessed that. Uh, Pretty gut wrenching to watch, honestly. Growing up a Big 12 fan, watching A&M mainly get slaughtered our whole childhood. But we grew up both hating Baylor, both hating Oklahoma. So I didn't really know who I wanted to win that game. I think towards the end of it, I wanted Baylor to pull it out just because Oklahoma's been a big dog for the last few years. But man, what do you have to say about that? Because that was pretty sad.
You know, um, I was actually at the A&M South Carolina game,
Mm-hmm.
and during the game, most of the people at us in the stands, we were saw the A&M score, and we were looking at the A&M score, and some of us in the stands we saw the Baylor score, and we were just amazed, seeing
Yeah, because they were
21
up. They were slapped.
nothing.
Yeah, no, it was 28-3 at the end of like the first quarter. It was stupid. I mean,
Yes,
I was watching that like this game's over after the first quarter. I was wrong.
exactly. And we thought it was all over, and then uh, people started saying, "Hey, it's getting closer. It's getting closer."
Hmm.
And I thought to myself, "Oh, no way,
Yeah,
no way. Baylor ain't gonna blow
yeah.
this. It'd be historic."
Hmm.
And then what do you know? Baylor gonna Baylor,
Yeah, well, it was
and
actually the biggest comeback in Oklahoma school history, which is surprising to me because it was only 25 points, but maybe that's because Oklahoma's, historically always ahead in the game rather than behind. So I mean, 25 points, a school record. So it's pretty insane.
But I mean, does this prove to me prove again that the Big 12 is yet an overrated conference?
I just don't understand the Big 12, man, because literally every year it just seems like they are just taking shots at each other. No one is safe in the Big 12. The last few years it's just been Oklahoma that comes out. If it's not Oklahoma, it's not going to be anyone. And for a while I was thinking, oh, Texas is going to dethrone Oklahoma, but that hasn't been the case either. So this year we saw Baylor rising in the ranks. Another question is, if Baylor beats Oklahoma, would they have had a chance to get in? Because in my mind, even with beating them, I feel like the committee doesn't necessarily respect teams that aren't Oklahoma in the Big 12,
Well, Baylor will get another shot in the Big 12 championship game.
That's true. And they got Texas. They got Texas at home again this week. So
they do got them coming up.
Maybe they can redeem themselves. So moving on from that, our boys, our Texas A&M Aggies, absolutely slapping South Carolina. And as I mentioned last week, since joining the SEC, we started playing them in the 2014 season. We have yet to lose to the University of South Carolina, which is really cool to think about. But something that's crazier is I can't remember the last time we spanked an SEC team like that. When was the last time it happened? Johnny Manziel years.
It's Johnny Manziel years. I agree.
I agree. It was Johnny Manziel years. Mon was on. Our defense was playing really well. Of course, South Carolina has not necessarily had the greatest of years the last few years, but they're still an SEC school. They still recruit well. And for the most part, I think they have pretty good coaching as well. So pretty big win for the Ags. Committee still decided not to put us in the top 25, which is unfortunate because, our only 3 losses have come to pretty big schools.
I don't know, but give me that under 50. That's all I'm going to say.
Is that for Georgia?
No. For A&M South Carolina. Give me that under 50.
Oh, did you call that?
Yes,
what?
Of course.
Oh man, I don't.
Of course, give me that under.
Yeah.
Give me that under.
Yeah. So yeah, we had a pretty good game in College Station. Another big game in the SEC, staying in the SEC. Georgia takes down Auburn at Jordan-Hare, clinching the SEC East. This is becoming an every year thing. Georgia's taken the East. There's really no one who can compete with them.
Georgia, the SEC East, man, if you just beat Florida, Georgia, with their recruiting classes every single year.
Yeah. Their recruiting is insane.
They're probably, top 5, if not top 10. Kirby Smart gets the most amazing recruiting classes, and their running backs are always awesome. Defense is amazing, and they run the SEC East, and they're always, it comes down to, can they win the big game in the SEC championship? And
this year, that kind of takes us to our next, big news that happened over the weekend. Of course, no one remembers that Alabama actually blew out Mississippi State. The big news coming out of Starkville, Tua, dislocated hip, out for the year. Are their chances of making the playoffs over?
Man, it is really hard to see them putting Alabama in the top 4.
It's the fact that they're out right now too. They're sitting at number 5. So right, they're sitting at number 5. So now that you're out, you're already outside. You just lost probably, either the best or the second best, one of the best quarterbacks in the country. I don't see how they make it into the playoffs unless this backup guy, what is his name, Mac Jones or Mac something, unless he comes in and absolutely runs the tables. And he has to win the SEC championship too. I just don't see it.
Yeah, I see. I definitely see right now the 4 spot being between Oregon and Utah. You know that.
Oh, you think a Pac-12 team gets in, huh?
Yes, I do think a Pac-12 team finally gets themselves
Maybe
that number
because
4 spot.
Alabama gets taken down. I mean, maybe
Yes.
with Alabama being down because of two. I mean, we're already counting out Alabama. You know, when they're
I
underdogs,
think
they play well. But
I don't think this is my yes, I am saying that I think LSU cannot be stopped. Yes, I think that they will slaughter my Aggies, and
unfortunately,
they'll
that's
playing the little piggies coming up in Arkansas,
oh
and
yes.
they will beat Georgia, which will knock out Georgia, and then it's hard to not keep Oregon and Utah with that extra game in the Pac-12 to keep them out, especially with Baylor losing. So I just don't see it.
I don't
Keep
either.
Alabama in there.
Another thing I wanted to ask you, I was listening to this on ESPN earlier. They were talking about Tua possibly, skipping his senior season and going into the draft. What do you think he's going to do there? Because I don't necessarily think that his draft stock is very high right now because the last few years we've seen him deal with, nagging injuries. I personally feel that he should stay his senior year and prove to the NFL, that he's capable of making it through the whole season. What do you think his move is here?
I mean, as an NFL team, man, it's just so sad to say. I just don't see how you can take a risk on him. I
No,
mean, it's the same as they're talking about the same injury as Bo Jackson. I
really.
just that's what
His career-ending injury that he had, like the
his
famous one.
career ending. Yes, his same one. I mean, as it's hard to say, I just don't see how you can waste a first round pick on a guy that anytime could hurt it again or
Mhm.
even hurt it worse,
Yeah.
and you just can't rely on someone being your future of your team like that.
No, I definitely feel you. We'll see what happens there. But ultimately, I think he should stay his senior season. All right, I'm going to pull up my screen actually so we can take a look at some other games that happen around the country. Can you see that?
No, I can't.
Can you see that?
Mm-mm.
Oh, now you can. Another game that also surprised me, Michigan putting the beat down on Michigan State. And this is actually, I believe, the first time that Harbaugh has taken down Michigan State since he's been the coach there, which is shocking.
That is true.
It
That's
seems
true.
like Michigan's finding their footing.
Yeah, Michigan, if they're finally starting to find their way. Problem is, can they win the big game when it comes to Ohio State? I just don't
Yep.
see that
I don't
happening.
see it
But
either. I mean, if they play like they played against Michigan, if they play like they played against, Notre Dame, they have a chance. But if they come out like the Michigan we've seen the last few years in the big game, there's no way. Uh, another another hilarious game, honestly, after the committee decided that Texas was the 19th ranked team in the country. Um, Iowa State takes them down, on a game-winning field goal. Doesn't surprise me, honestly. We see this every single year. The committee wants to keep them in the top 25. They dread the possibility of them not being relevant, and it seems like every year, they beat themselves out of being relevant.
It's just another season where they have 4 losses again.
Yeah. Well, another season of Texas being back, right?
Another season of Texas being back.
It's so good to be back.
It's a freezing cold take. Cold takes exposed.
Look, we got Clemson. Wake Forest isn't necessarily, a walk in the park, but I believe they did lose either their starting quarterback or their star player. So they just absolutely beat the snot out of Wake Forest, as expected. They move on to 11-0.
Yeah, at this point, it doesn't matter about style points.
They're getting in if they run the table.
They're getting in. It doesn't matter. They will beat everybody.
Mm-hmm. And the second, if LSU does happen to lose, or a team if Ohio State happens to lose, it's sad, but they will jump in front of them, even if one of those teams loses a big game. Like if LSU lost the SEC championship, Clemson would jump in front of them just because they have a 0 in the loss column, which is ridiculous because, like we said last week, they're going to play like Virginia in the ACC championship game.
Agreed.
Very, very sad.
It's very sad.
Ohio State, another beatdown. This time the victim is Rutgers. We're just got to see how Ohio State, Michigan goes.
A clear fact, Rutgers until this point in the Big Ten has allowed 201 points. 201.
Sheesh. And
yes.
LSU, I don't know about you. I was pretty shocked when I saw this score. I don't know if Ole Miss scored all their points in garbage time, but 58-37 against an LSU defense. That's
LSU's defense is not up to par, but I will say one thing that that is interesting with Joe Burrow and being a shotgun offense, how they score. The LSU defense is on the field a lot more.
They are.
They're used to being a slow offense, pound and ground, just pound it, throw the tight end and stuff like that.
Definitely.
They're a lot more tired, so see a lot more scoring.
Definitely. But yeah, I know you mentioned, Utah or Oregon possibly getting in. They roll over UCLA, which, UCLA has had a better year than I think most people expected originally. They've had a couple big wins. So Chip Kelly, I don't necessarily think that he's going to bring them back to, dominance that they once had, but he's definitely, doing better than most people thought he was going to do this year.
Yeah, Chip Kelly eventually will be, sipping on his cocktails and hanging on the beach.
Well, he needs to bring his recruit. He's only had, one full recruiting class, I believe. So, once he brings his guys in, similar to what he did in Oregon, they should be, a high-flying Pac-12 offense that we've seen in Chip Kelly's past.
It's true.
And also, Oregon rolling over Arizona. Kevin Sumlin, man.
Kevin Sumlin.
That dude has stolen more money from American universities than any other person. Like, that dude is a thief. How did he take what was Khalil Tate, like a Heisman hopeful the year before he got there, and turn him into a 4-6 quarterback? Like, only Kevin Sumlin can do that. Only Kevin Sumlin can just take something that was good and butcher it by throwing bubble screens.
Well, he should be thanking Johnny Manziel
for making his career, and Case Keenum, and Case Keenum.
And Case Keenum.
I'm pretty sure Case Keenum still owns the record for the most passing yards in a career, and that was during Kevin Sumlin's tenure at University of Houston, right before he came to A&M. The dude gets Case Keenum. What?
And everyone forgets about Kenny Hill. But Kenny Trill at first was pretty dang good for his couple of games.
He was. It's insane to think. We had, of course, we had Johnny Manziel, Heisman Trophy 2012. 2013 was mediocrity, and Johnny was kind of hurt. 2014, we have Kyle Allen. He has a really good freshman season. And then 2015, we bring in another 5-star in Kyler Murray, and it all just goes downhill from there. and Kenny Hill in 14. So, I mean, that dude had so many quarterbacks to work with, and at A&M, it didn't work with any of them in the end.
No, I agree. I mean, he's just stealing money.
He's a thief, dude. That dude, I mean, hold on a second. It's so hard to wrap my head around the amount of money that he's made from being a mediocre coach for so long. I don't even think that he doesn't even call the plays. Like, what does he actually do? I don't remember. He didn't call plays. The dude shows no emotion on the sideline. His team could be losing 56-0, and he'll just be standing there like, okay, like, we just lost 56-0. I don't know why I'm going on this tangent. I feel like,
he's already making his vacation plans.
Oh yeah, he's totally done. He's totally done. I don't know what's going on there. All right, so that's enough of last week's games. Before we look at some lines for college football, kind of wanted to talk about a pretty fun NFL Sunday that we had. Well, fun for some, because it wasn't fun for us Houstonians. What was supposed to be, one of the biggest games of the year turned into an absolute slaughter fest for us. Lamar Jackson torched us, and Deshaun Watson did the absolute opposite of what Lamar did. I mean, what happened there? What happened there?
What I'm going to say is Lamar Jackson is the MVP, and I give him all the credit in the world. And that dude
did not see it coming. I did not see it coming.
I didn't see it coming. I knew the Ravens would score, but I didn't think that the Ravens defense would hold the Texans and Deshaun Watson to only 7 points. And the 7 points was a garbage time Carlos Hyde touchdown at the very end. But all the credit to the Ravens. They took it to him, and I will say right now, I think that the Ravens are the best team in the NFL. Lamar Jackson is the MVP, and but not to discredit Tom Brady, because it's Tom Brady, but.
Well, now that you bring up Tom Brady, I think we may have already seen the two teams play that are going to be playing in the AFC Championship in the Ravens and the Patriots. And when I saw that Lamar Jackson and the Ravens handed the Patriots their first L of the year, that's when I knew that this team was legit.
No, I agree. And even though the Ravens lost to the Chiefs early in the year,
when was the last time they lost? Because, it's been a long time. Lamar is lighting it up right now.
With what he can do, the way he can run, and also, his accuracy on his throws are amazing.
Unbelievable.
It's so dual threat. It's something that you just don't see in the NFL, and it's so hard to keep up with.
His motion is so smooth too. Everything he does is so smooth. From the way he runs, he's just like as fast as the wind, man. It's really crazy to watch, and I just hope that he can avoid the injuries, because I would love to watch him play for a long time. The problem is with those quarterbacks, they get one serious injury and they just don't come back the same. So I hope he can stay healthy. Moving on, as much as I dislike the Cowboys, they really do have a very high-powered offense right now. And I think Dak Prescott is about to get paid this offseason.
He deserves it.
No, definitely does.
Jerry Jones should pay him, just like Troy Aikman was talking on social media.
Well, he's going to get it's going to be a max deal, isn't it?
Yes.
More than likely.
He's already getting paid the big bucks,
Yeah.
Through the commercials and stuff. But
Oh, for
He's
sure.
definitely going to get the
Huge
big
market.
bucks. Huge
Huge
market.
market in Dallas. I mean, yeah, he's going to get paid the big bucks, which I guess that's why he wasn't really complaining this year. I think he just knew, hey, if I can prove it on the field, then I'm going to get paid. So Jerry
Agreed.
better treat him accordingly.
Oh, he'll get locked up. There's no
No,
doubt.
for sure, he will. Colts take down the Jaguars, so now our Texans and the Colts are uh, both at 6-4. What? Yeah, they both at 6-4 now. Yeah, they're both at 6-4, but of course the Colts have the tiebreaker in the AFC South. Colts and Texans play this week. It's a huge game, and I believe you said you are attending, aren't you?
I am.
Yeah,
That
so
should be a fun game.
yeah, Thursday night football. I feel like historically the Texans in primetime games have not been very good. I don't know if it's like a curse or something like that, but hopefully that is not the case. We have the Colts at home, so we're playing in Houston, and we always lose to the Colts in Indianapolis, and we typically beat them at home. So this should give us the dub, and this should put us in first place in the AFC South. And see, Drew Brees is back, and he looks as good as ever. Let's see. Patriots, Eagles. I was kind of shocked at this score when I saw it because it just felt like a game that the Patriots should run away with. But I don't know if you watched it. Could they just not get anything going on offense?
I tell you, Tom Brady, he's starting to show his age. His throws with his accuracy, it just the strength of the throws. He just doesn't have the units, the wide receivers he usually has.
It's funny you say that because I feel like every single time he has a bad game and then the media starts talking like, oh, Tom Brady's showing his age, he just feeds off of it and he comes out and just destroys everyone, wins the Super Bowl. But these numbers, 26 for 47, only 216 yards passing, those aren't very Tom Brady-like numbers.
No, I completely agree. It's definitely something to speculate on.
I don't understand the Eagles either. Like, are they anywhere close to the Super Bowl winning team that they were, or like, are they nothing without Nick Foles, basically? Because I
don't know.
Is Carson Wentz an MVP, or is he middle of the crowd QB? He has his moments.
He does. Man, I'd love to see him succeed. Coming from North Dakota State, but
was it Bison?
Yeah, the Bison.
The Bison.
I want to see the Eagles. Eagles fly.
Yeah.
But sometimes they're not flying.
No.
And
they've only flown about 5 times this year. They've been crashing the other 5 times.
Seems like they're getting shot down.
Yeah.
This doesn't look good.
Another team that was recently in the Super Bowl, the Rams, they haven't necessarily looked like a Super Bowl team either this year. And I remember everyone saying, oh, Jared Goff is an MVP quarterback. He doesn't look anything close to that this year.
Yeah, he surely got paid to be a Super Bowl
they all do.
MVP. Man, he that guaranteed money. Oh, my gosh. Man, talk about let's just go have retirement now.
Yeah.
But, yeah, there's no doubt they are nothing compared to what they were last year.
Definitely. And they added. I feel like, they got some new additions on defense. Todd Gurley seems healthy from everything that I've seen. So I just don't understand why they're not, proving to be that team that they were last year.
I think the bigger story in this is the Chicago Bears.
No, definitely. The one that was on the losing end this week, the Chicago Bears, man. Mitchell Trubisky taken second overall in the 2017 draft, the same
And
draft.
traded up to get him.
Yes, yes. I mean, you want to talk about what is really panning out to be a massive bust? Mitchell Trubisky. And next week or later this week, I'm going to have my buddy Evan from Chicago, and I know he's really heated about it, just how everyone is about the Bears right now in Chicago. But what is wrong with him?
He looks awful.
He can't throw the ball.
He can't throw the football. I mean, can you imagine as a Bears fan, you traded up and you passed on Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and not only that, you have problems with at one point having a field goal kicker. I mean, your defense is completely fine. I mean, you got Khalil Mack.
Yeah, their defense is, they came into the league, supposed to be one of the best defenses in the league. I know they haven't played horrible, but they haven't necessarily been the best defense this year, and their offense has just been trash. Like, there's no other way to say it. They've been trash.
Yeah, I mean, as a Bears fan,
God bless them.
Just God bless them.
Sorry, Chicago.
Sorry, Chicago. I just hope Mitchell Trubisky has a lot of protection coming out of Bears Stadium. That's all I'm going to.
Yeah, I just thought about the Bears, and they're one of those teams, kind of like the Texans until Deshaun Watson, who always just had such mediocre play at quarterback. I think back to, I was probably like 10 years old. They had the best defense in the league, and there was a quarterback who was the worst quarterback in the league, but managed to take him to the Super Bowl somehow. What was was it Grossman?
Yes.
What's his name?
Rex Grossman.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, I mean, they're wishing they could have that with Trubisky, but their defense isn't anywhere near as good as they used to be. And just like we said, pray for Chicago, pray for the Bears because they suck. Okay, Monday Night Football last night. Did you watch the game at all?
I did.
Okay. So it seemed like it was over. Seemed like the Chiefs were going to run away. And then Big Grandpa, Big Daddy of 15, Phillip Rivers, comes out of nowhere and starts throwing the ball around the field. And then we get to that last drive, and we're thinking, all right, Rivers is finally going to win the close game. He's finally going to win the close game because every single loss this year has been close. All their games have been close. I thought he was finally going to get the game-winning drive. He throws a duck in the air. Did you see the interception?
I did.
It was pathetic.
Phillip Rivers, running his orphanage, he does after the game.
Jeez.
Man,
he looks old, man. His throwing motion, he looks so much slower than he used to be. Like everything he does now, and he just looks so grouchy too. I know he's always been a trash talker, but he gets up from replay and he's like, arr, arr, arr. Like the dude. What's he like? He's in his 16th year, something like that. I have loved watching him play, like basically my whole life. But at some point, you might want to pass the torch. But as long as they keep, if he keeps putting up numbers like he is, I mean, 28 for 52, not too good. But he still throws the ball around. It just feels like his throwing arm is really showing his age now.
I mean, when he throws the ball, I mean, I feel like every time he runs, it has to be the most unathletic thing I've ever seen. But every time he runs, no kidding, but every time he runs, it feels like he fumbles the football.
Yeah.
And it's like, I mean, so I agree 100%. It's like, it's just time to move on. It seems like it's either time to go in the free agency or, it's time to go into the draft and say, hey,
Yeah.
you know, let's put all our marbles in and go from there.
And while we sit here, talking on our show while he's getting paid what $16 million,
Yeah.
and we're telling him that he needs to pass the torch. I don't know how much longer he has on his contract, but I don't see how he gets another big one after it's over, unless he's signed as a free agent from someone else. Because I guarantee you there are a lot of teams in the NFL who would love to have Phillip Rivers, and I'm sure you agree with that.
Yeah, as long as
Like
he's
the
not on
Bears.
as long as he's not on our Texans, I'm okay.
Yeah, the Bears would love to have Phillip Rivers, I'm sure.
Yes, I'm sure the Bears would love to
They'd
have
give
a
up
guy
their
that
youngin.
I'm sure the Bears would love to have a guy that fumbles the football every time he runs.
Oh yeah. All right, so we touched the NFL games. Kind of wanted to look over some conference standings. Patriots sitting pretty comfortably along with the Baltimore Ravens. They're taking their divisions. The Bills have been pretty steady on the rise this season. Now I know they don't have the toughest schedule, but Jared Allen, man, he's been solid for me in fantasy. He's been solid for the Bills all years. He's starting to look, like he's worth the high draft pick that he was. But we'll see what happens in the playoffs with the Bills.
Yeah, if it wasn't for the New England Patriots, then we'd be talking about the Buffalo Bills being one of those top 2 seeds, definitely
For
in the
sure.
playoffs.
For sure. And then let's see. We talked about, Houston and Indy being neck and neck right now. This is a big Thursday night game coming up in a couple of days. Huge in the division. Might choose who is going to go to the playoffs and who isn't. So I hope Deshaun, pull some rabbits out of the hat like he usually does, and hopefully doesn't play like he played against the Ravens.
Yeah. I I think I think I just don't see with the Houston Texans and the Colts. I see that I see Deshaun Watson and Jacoby Brissett being a really good game. And as we talked about it, uh, knowing from our time of watching the game on Thursday, uh, seems like whoever is home seems to either win the game, and
We
I
should
hope
take it.
that's the case.
We should take
And
it.
and and yeah.
It's funny because there's only one team that's been worse uh, than the Dolphins this year, and that's the Cincinnati Bengals. Except no one really talks about it. Have you noticed that? Everyone still always talks about suck for Tua or whatever. The Bengals have been worse than the Dolphins.
No, I completely agree. I 100% agree.
All right, so now that we looked at some NFL standings, let's take a look at some game lines, starting with A&M at Georgia. Georgia laying the 13.5. I'm not trying to be biased here, but I think A&M can keep it within 14. It's at Georgia, though.
You know how I am on this. I'm not big on betting on my home team, but
Yeah,
but if
we had
I
to touch it. We had to cover it.
you know how I am, but if I was going on this, I would have to take the A&M at plus 13.5.
That's what I'm saying. I would maybe buy the point. I would definitely buy the point. But give me 14 points. I mean, A&M hasn't necessarily been blown out this year. We had the Alabama game. It was like a 21-point loss, but it hasn't actually been that bad. I think we can keep it within 14. I think we're on a little bit of a hot streak right now. We just have to carry it into the big game. That's been our problem. We can't win the big game. We have to carry this streak into the big game.
Mm-hmm.
And then the over-under sitting at 45. I would say it's probably going to stay under. I think it's going to be a pretty low-scoring game. What do you think about that?
I'll take the over.
You take the over?
I'll definitely take the over.
Now, I think if there's over 45 points scored in the game, I think that makes it a higher chance of Georgia covering the 13.5.
I think there's a lot of scoring actually in this game. I think it's a very, very high scoring affair.
Kellen scoring, Kellen coming out hot against Georgia, at Georgia. Oh, man. All right. So I guess another pretty big game in the Big 12. Baylor trying to stay in the Big 12 championship picture. Texas at Baylor. Baylor laying the 5.5. What are your thoughts?
You can call me out on this, but I'll take Texas.
Plus 5.5?
I'll take Texas in the plus 5.5.
I mean, they're that team that one week they're awful, and then the next week they come out with a chip on their shoulder, and this might be that week.
I think Texas comes out, guns blazing, and I think they have the better athletes. I don't see them wanting to get that fifth loss. I just don't see it. I actually could possibly see Texas winning this game straight up. As much as I don't want to say that, this would possibly be my super sleeper. I see Baylor as there's a huge letdown. I could see it continuing into the this weekend.
Yep, and that's what I was about to get at, man. I think that I was thinking about this earlier. Baylor, their whole season was that game last week, and I think the mood in the whole city of Waco is okay. Like, our season's over. We're not making the playoffs. Now they have to turn around and play another huge game in the Big 12 in Texas. So give me a solidified answer, man. Is Texas taking it straight up or no?
Yes.
That's what I thought you were going to say. Yeah, that does hurt to hear, but, I'd have to agree with you on that. But if you want to play it safe, I would definitely just take the 5.5 points, even if they lose by a field goal, which Texas with their offense is going to keep it close, as they do in almost every single one of their losses. Take the 5.5 to stay safe, but if you're feeling risky, Jeff says you should take the straight up. Okay, moving on. Let's see. I wanted to talk about this one. Arkansas at LSU. LSU laying the 43.5. I am taking Arkansas, and I'm taking the points. 43.5. Lock it in. LSU is going to play similarly to the way they played this past weekend, and I think Arkansas is just going to play with we have nothing to lose mentality, and I think Arkansas keeps it within 40.
Man,
it's a lot of points.
There's a lot of points, but man, Arkansas, wow.
No, I agree. It's been awful.
They might be the worst SEC team in the last 20 years.
No, I totally agree with you. What was that? Who did they lose to the other week? It was bad. It was bad.
I can't remember, but if you were to give me a bet, it was one of the worst. Like, unbelievable.
Western Kentucky. 45-19.
I'm going to go against you. I'll take LSU.
Okay, well, woo pig suey to you, because
They're coming down. You know what? I'm taking Arkansas straight up. I'm just kidding. That's not even an option. Literally not even an option because the chances are
if,
0.0001.
if that happens, I'll stop watching football.
Yeah, you should. Okay. Let's see another interesting game. We got, really not that much interesting football going on this Saturday. You got Utah and Arizona. Like you said, Utah is trying to stay in the playoff picture, playing Mr. Kevin Sumlin at Arizona, laying the 22.5. I think Utah destroys them because I think that they're – go.
Utah slaughters. That is a easy money. Take the money and run.
Especially since Utah is trying everything they can to, stay in the conversation. So they're going to go out and try to just beat the crap out of teams because that's what they have to do.
Kevin Sumlin will sit from the sidelines and don't even know his own playbook.
For sure, man. Oh, God, I could talk about Kevin Sumlin all day. He's awesome, man. Or he's horrible. He's awesome. That's what we were saying back in 2012. We were like, oh, man, we got the greatest coach in the country, Kevin Sumlin. But really, it was Johnny Football who did everything, and Mike Evans, which neither of them he recruited. Neither of them. Any of that 2012 team. He didn't have anything to do with any of them, which is pretty insane and pretty sad. But yeah, we covered the games from last week. We covered some lines. We talked NFL. Wanted to talk NBA basketball, specifically the Houston Rockets on an 8-game winning streak. It seems like we are finally finding ourselves. But can we get over the Lakers?
The question is, can the NBA itself, besides, the city of Houston and maybe James Harden fans itself, decide a couple of things? Is James Harden the MVP right now?
How can he not?
How can he not be? Well, people will decide that he's not be because people do. The question is, do they like the way he plays?
No, of course not. Of course not.
Second of all, is he traveling?
If you are a Houston Rockets fan, the answer to the first question is no. They don't like the way that they play. And if you're not a Houston Rockets fan, the answer is yes. He's traveling on every single point that he makes. I just don't understand because they're not going to give him the MVP probably, but the dude is averaging 25% more points than every single other person in the NBA. That is truly insane what he's doing right now. And everyone's going to be like, oh, he's manipulating the league. Like he's getting cheap fouls. Like, why would the refs be calling him why wouldn't they just stop calling him? Obviously he doesn't have like a special deal with the NBA. He's using the rules to score the most points. It's as simple as that.
I mean, I completely agree. He's using the rules, to his own way. But you were saying to the Lakers, the Lakers look great. They look, with Anthony Davis and LeBron, they look unstoppable.
I totally agree, and it's scary. And they're probably going to give the MVP to LeBron. If they end up first in the West, they're going to give the MVP to LeBron. I know, one of our buddies the other day was talking about how he's going to get the MVP just because he's on the Lakers and because he's in its 25th season and because his name is LeBron James. And I think that made perfect sense because, last year he was on the Lakers, but they weren't winning, so he couldn't win it. But there's going to be no excuse for him not to win it this year. He's LeBron James after all.
And my third reason of why James Harden couldn't get the MVP is because he goes to too many strip clubs. But that's not the point.
Wait, did you see that?
Yes.
Did you
yes,
see
I
that?
did.
Yeah. Apparently, there's a correlation between Harden's scoring ability and the amount of strip clubs in the city that he's playing at. So that's pretty interesting statistic. I know some Redditor. Every great advancement in society starts with a Redditor. Always doing some kind of crazy research or something like that. So I'm sure that is a fact, and hopefully he continues doing whatever he's doing. Hopefully he continues it because he's averaging like 40 points a game. So
what I've assumed is that not only are the Houston Astros cheating, James Harden is traveling as well.
yes, James Harden is traveling. He's actually, George Springer is in the stands at Toyota Center in Houston, and he's telling James what kind of play the other team is doing. So the Houston Rockets and the Houston Astros are in it together. I'm sure the Texans are cheating as well, and I'm sure they're all simultaneously communicating with A&M to try to steal calls from other teams. So, I mean, all of our teams are cheaters. That's just the way it is.
This is true.
Yep.
I agree.
Well,
in fact, both of us are in on it as well.
Yes, of course. Yeah, that's what this show is about.
That's what this show is about.
Try not to expose ourselves, but we are.
Anyways, back to the NBA. Right now, through the Western Conference, the Western Conference is just stacked.
Absolutely.
As it usually right now, the only is so surprising to me is the Portland Trailblazers. I just don't understand is, I just saw now is, they just signed Carmelo Anthony, and of course the media is going to say, hey, this is the second
huge.
He's
going to propel them to an NBA title.
This is the second coming of
of Carmelo on the Nuggets back in 2005. It's not going to happen.
But it's amazing to me that they can go from being the team that goes to the Western Conference Finals, and now they are 5-10 to start out. But besides that, from 1-6 with the Denver Nuggets, the Rockets, the Lakers, the
Clippers.
The Clippers will come back in. They're starting a little rough right now.
Yeah.
With
Paul George's got to get healthy.
Whatever this, resting. I don't understand this stuff. I feel bad for this. I feel bad for the season ticket holders.
No, it's a serious problem, but you can't blame the teams for doing it.
I agree. How about also, as much as I don't like the Dallas Mavericks, how about Luka? Excuse me if I say it wrong.
Doncic. Yeah, Doncic. Total stud. Absolute stud. And it sucks too, because for years we watched Dirk, sort of dominate the Rockets. And they had a couple down years as he got older. And now they have this guy who looks like he's going to basically replace him as the superstar for that team on top of Kristaps Porzingis. So the Mavs aren't down like they were the last few years.
Yes.
Which sucks for the Rockets.
Yeah, he
won't stay down either.
He definitely looks like something special, and
he's
like
young too. Isn't he like 20 or 21?
He does, and he looks like another Mark Cuban international star.
Yeah. He's got a lot of them.
He's got a lot of them, and I'm sure he's over there looking for more.
For sure.
So,
yeah, I'm really looking to see how this NBA season, kind of takes shape. Hopefully the Rockets can stay up top. I'm pretty sure the Lakers will stay there. Like you said, man, the West is just absolutely stacked. It seems like every, great player that was in the East has now migrated over into the West, and there's really nothing left in the East besides Giannis. So I mean, that's the only MVP caliber player that I can think of in the East.
Mm-hmm. The East is you can the I mean the media can
Yeah,
scramble
you're
and
always
tell
going to
me
have that East Coast bias, no doubt.
yeah
The Celtics are always going to be, contenders every year. They hate that the Knicks aren't good because they love their Knicks. They will always love their Knicks, but yeah, that East Coast bias, it's real, especially in the NBA.
maybe when Kevin Durant comes back, possibly with Brooklyn.
Is he coming back this year, or is he out for the whole season? I think he's out for the whole season.
I think that's a good question.
There's really no point in him coming back, honestly. You may as well just rest up.
That's true. That's true, definitely. It's like the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah. Well, which it's crazy to think about the Kevin Durant thing, too, because they willingly signed someone to a max contract who they knew is going to have to sit out their entire first year. I mean, that's just how valuable of a player Kevin Durant is, which any team would have done that. But it's insane to think that he is basically rehabbing the whole year while making 25, $30 million or something.
It's pretty insane.
It's really hard sometimes to wrap your head around the numbers that are being thrown out these days and that these guys are making, especially when you think about them like sitting out for games or resting or something like that. They're still getting their game checks. It's like, oh man, that must be the life. And I know a lot of them, they worked so hard to get there, so I don't blame them for resting while getting paid, but it's just really crazy. But yeah, we pretty much covered everything today for this second episode of the Marshall Sports Show. If you like what you hear and you would like to support us, you can leave a like or maybe even subscribe. I know we're going to try to continue doing this for the next pretty much every single week. I'll probably have more of my buddies on, and we're just going to keep talking sports. But in the meantime, like I said, leave a like, subscribe, let us know how much you disagree with us in the comments, and we will see you next time. See you guys later. Toodles.